Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty release days should just be national holidays. Realistically, few males actually work or go to school seriously on those days anyway. I say let's just quit pretending. I, along with many people, am extremely excited to be playing Grand Theft Auto 5. But this year's release is sort of weird to me because it comes the day after a mass shooting in Washington, D.C., a day after horrifically unspeakable acts nobody should ever have to witness or endure, a day after tragedy on the highest level. And before heading out to pick up Grand Theft Auto tonight, I was watching news commentary on the shooting, and amid montages and shots of police barricades and people crying and just horrible scenes, a guest broke in, and his name is Clint Van Zant, and he's a former FBI investigator and a Vietnam veteran. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but the first thing this guy went to in his discussion was a claim that there's essentially one sole factor that explains all this human tragedy. The perpetrator in this case allegedly played video games. If only he hadn't played video games, this tragedy would have never happened. I don't do commentaries, but this interview was so ridiculous, so intolerably preposterous, that I want to discuss it, and I hope you guys will watch it through. I'm going to play the interview, which took place on MSNBC's Politics Nation, hosted by Al Sharpton, bit by bit, and discuss Mr. Van Zant's points as he makes them. One request before I begin: as far as I'm concerned, this issue shouldn't be political. I know there are bound to be MSNBC haters just as there are Fox haters, but almost all networks provide a forum for this type of garbage, not just MSNBC. So let's not assign blame to that network. It happens to be the news network I caught, and it happens to be the example I chose to discuss, but this is much more widespread than just one network. Let's begin the interview.
Clint, you've been listening to the reports. You just heard Charles from Fort Worth. Is there anything that you get out of this as a former FBI profiler, or is just still too sketchy to even begin putting some kind of form to this?
No, I do get something out of this, Al. This is something I was looking for. I was looking for this video game aspect of it.
Okay, stop right there. Quote, something I was looking for. Is that really how we investigate events objectively? We conclude first, and we mold the facts to fit our preconceived conclusions. I was looking for the video game aspect of it, he says, acting surprised that a young adult male plays video games. It's kind of like acting surprised that he might enjoy football, or he might enjoy women, or he might enjoy movies, or he might eat, or he might breathe for that matter. In any case, searching for evidence to fit a preset perception of the case is completely ridiculous. Let's proceed.
You know, you covered the Adam Lanza shooting, the Sandy Hook shooting in December, and we know that young man played those violent video games over and over. And Al,
if we're going to make mass conclusions based on simple anecdotes, let's continue. I had a roommate in college as well who played violent video games over and over. Total murders by him to date, 0.
We hear so many of these mass murderers who play these games to, number one, refine their shooting skills, but what they're also doing, Al, is losing the ability to identify with human tragedy. You and I and everybody else becomes a number, a point, a medal they can win instead of a loss of another beating human heart.
All right, this is the part that's not only laughable to me, but it's also insulting and unforgivably misinformed. If you think video games, quote, hone shooting skills, you are absolutely insane. Example, my friend Al G has played probably 50 days of Call of Duty in his entire lifetime across the franchise. We went out shooting at a range a few weeks ago with an MP5. The MP5 is very commonly used in several Call of Duty games, and he tried to insert the magazine into the grip of the gun when we were reloading it. It was hilarious. All those hours of Call of Duty, and he has zero idea how to operate a real firearm. In his defense, neither did I until my brother taught me and I got a bit of experience and familiarity with them. But I have hundreds of thousands of kills across my Call of Duty career. What taught me how to use a firearm was actually using a firearm. Before, I had no more knowledge or ability than any non-video game player. And the idea of video games as training to kill, to commit unspeakable acts of horror is silly but benign. His point about desensitization is much more malicious, and as a gamer, I actually take offense from it. He says to gamers, quote, "Non-gamers become a number, a point, a medal they can win instead of a loss of a beating human heart." Fuck you, man. Fuck you hard. Fuck you good. Straight up, fuck you. For you to say that by virtue of my completely legal pastime, that I am somehow less human than you, somehow less capable of understanding the horror of human tragedy, then fuck you. Your words are so irresponsibly judgmental, they are unworthy of a more reasoned, articulate response.
We realize that very few people who play those games actually act out. Right. But there are those who stand on the edge of the abyss and look for the chance to jump over like this guy did today.
So let me summarize his words. We realize that 99.9999999 with a bar over it % of video game players are completely normal and good people. But there are those few crazies. Then what is the influence of the video games, sir? Your statement has nothing to do with video games. You're saying most people are fine and there are some crazies. But it's basic reasoning. Some people play video games. Some people are crazy. If we accept those premises, it's insufficient logically to deduce that video games cause craziness. It would be equally valid to say some crazy people enjoy pepperoni pizza. Therefore, pepperoni pizza causes psychosis.
You become numb, totally numb to the human experience of pain, suffering, and you start to equate that with just one more score to put up on a tally board.
Again, fuck you, you fucking asshole. Show me one study linking video game exposure to lack of human empathy. We evaluate claims with empirical data, not old man anecdotes. The best part here is the complete cop-out that host Al Sharpton offers to end the interview.
And I might add, we have no way of knowing anything about the video game's impact on this young man, or even if all of that is the case, we're going by the statement by one friend, and we're trying to put together whatever pieces we can about this horrific day.
Translation: everything we said is quite possibly, indeed likely to be bullshit. Please disregard it. The sad part is I haven't cherry-picked one bad case of this type of quote-unquote reporting. See these examples. The Wall Street Journal reports the killer is skilled at video games. Al Jazeera reports the shooter was, quote, obsessed with video games. A Mediaite headline asks if video games are relevant to the story. Here's a hint. No! Additional reporting covers more pressing details. This guy had previous arrests for discharging a weapon in Dallas-Fort Worth and was questioned in Seattle in connection with an anger-filled shooting. He also served in the Navy Reserve. Why not focus on that? He was a service member. You know who else is? Nidal Hassan, the Fort Hood shooter. Army Staff Sergeant Robert Bales, who was recently sentenced to life without parole for murdering an entire Afghan village, including women and children. And yes, Timothy McVeigh was an infantryman. I suppose we better conclude that military service leads to senseless acts of violence, because after all, it completely removes any connection we have with humanity. Of course it doesn't. I respect the hell out of service members, as you all know. The fact is there are crazy asses in all walks of life, and to say one particular aspect or factor in their lives single-handedly explains a horrific or unthinkable action that they do is completely insane. We know life and we know the human experience are far more complicated than that. I think Mr. Van Zandt needs to hear from well-behaved, normal people gamers so he understands that we're not some subhuman species who lack the ability to comprehend human emotion, that we too are people who happen to enjoy a particular pastime that has zero effect on our production in society, that has zero effect on our ability to empathize with other people, and that has zero effect on the quality of our character and who we are as people. So I've included a click to tweet button in the description if you want to send him a quick tweet. I doubt he'll ever read it, but hey, maybe he will, maybe he'll think. By no means are my comments intended to minimize, belittle, or otherwise disrespect the losses that the families in the greater DC area are experiencing. I understand exactly what it means to lose someone so close to you in such an abrupt, unexpected, and unexplainable fashion. I sympathize and I empathize with the struggle to find simple answers that explain the tremendous, inescapable pain that this type of experience causes, and the desperate desire to try to find a simple solution to a problem so that nobody will ever have to endure the sting that you currently feel. But we as adults have to understand that explaining what inspires a human being to commit such plainly inhumane acts upon others is tremendously difficult, if not impossible. We have to be comfortable with the truth that the perpetrators of these crimes are uncommonly sick. They've had uncommon experiences in their lives, which few of us can relate to, and the causes of these things make a person so uncommonly twisted, they're far too complicated to explain with one simple factor. We as adults need to accept that we may never be able to explain these events in totality. We need to accept the fact that plenty of social contributors and stand-up people kill virtual hookers and hit collateral quad feeds in their spare time, and there's nothing wrong with that until one of these shooters, 720YY fakey ladder stall quick scopes one of his victims. I don't buy a causal link between video games and acts of horrific violence, and neither should you. Thanks for hearing me out. Bye!